as we can see over here, got my dad's Fiero working on his headlight. Got some new brushes on there getting glued on, thanks to Rodney Dickman and his headlight kit stuff. Very good guy. So, back to Getrag build part 3. The reason why I've been distant from this is not only do I have a lot of things going on in my life, but when I got this all apart, the casing for the output shaft bearing was cracked. And I wasn't sure on if this trans was going to be savable or if I had the source for a new case. Which, of course, everyone wants an arm and leg for a case, right? So, long story short, I took it to a machine shop, and sure enough, Jeremy over at HBR was like, hey, if you can find a bearing that is same size but has a deep groove for a lock ring, I might be able to machine your case and make this work. And I was like, okay, well, let me source the bearing, which I did source it, found it. It's this one right here. And sure enough, they had it for, I'm trying to remember how long HBR had it, but either way, I was just like, you know what, it's probably not going to work. And I was actually able to source another 5-speed Getrag, which, thanks to Lonnie over at the Fiero yard, this guy sold me a transmission. I had to split the case to change out the differential because I had a magnetic diff for the speed ring. But either way, besides all that, I figured this case was probably going to be beyond repair. They were going to tell me pick it up. Long story short, that was not the case. Jeremy called me like, hey dude, got this machine. And I'm just like stoked. Like, I cannot believe that you got it. So, if I show you on the inside, there is supposed to be a bearing stopper. If I get some white in there. There we go. As you can see right there, that's all broken off. The reverse gear is kind of hiding the other stuff, but you can see it right there. So, got that off, and he copied the other side, which honestly, I wish GM just did it that way, of where they just made an intrusion for a lock ring, and that's where the input shaft bearing would sit on the case side. And so he just mimicked this side, which sure enough, it can be done. We weren't sure if it was going to cut into these holes for the plate bolts, but sure enough, got close, but nope, they're good. And that case is fixed. Then I ran into another thing, which I'm so glad for Midwest Transmission sending me this kit. I paid quite a bit of money for this kit, but well worth it. And the reason is GM no longer makes the input bearing. Yay! They no longer make the input shaft bearing. So, what happens is, Rodney Dickman, dude, I swear, like, you are, if I could ever be you in the Fiero community, you're definitely a big inspiration, man, to be able to fabricate parts or figure out what parts actually work. It's like, you're the guy. And I'm just going to say it out there. Rodney, you deserve all credit on everything you do, to between producing gas tanks, other parts, headlight motor rebuild kits, you name it. There's just so much that you offer for the community. Shifter rebuild kits, cables. You're awesome, dude. So, the cool thing about Rodney is he figured out what input shaft bearing would work in this. Now, the sad part is it requires some modification, and it would have been another thing that I'd probably have to go to the machine shop for. But what he did was he created his own tools. So right here I have a lathe cutter, and I have to machine the case, which he required the tools to do it. This is awesome. So this guy's going to go in, and we have the cutter right there. So I'm going to cut the case until it hits these bars. Once I hit these bars, I stop, I'm done. It's machined for the, put that back in. All right. It's machined for the lip on this, and it's also machined for the lip on the bearing, which means awesome. Now, this guy is taking over for the original because for some reason, GM was like, oh yeah, we put this in with the bearing. So the bearing and this guy are one piece, and they'd get pressed into the case and you'd be done. Well, now we have two pieces. So once I get that all cut, I then have to put this on. Hold on here. Let me grab this. No, I got to grab this guy. So this guy, I'm basically going to mark all these holes and get a drill through about, I think it's an inch, if I remember right in the paperwork, but either way, it's a 5/16 drill bit, which everything is required in the kit. It's really awesome. You required the tap, the bolts, you name it. So this guy goes in, I drill through. Once I have my holes, this guy can get bolted in once the bearing's pressed in. Once the bearing's pressed in, this guy can go on. I am done. And then that would solve it up for the case, which means everything in this case is done. That case will be done. Well, that case is already done. We are done with the out case, you know. Now it's just the bell housing part of the case that I'm just doing the rest of that. And then, finally, I just gotta go get some bearing tools, and we'll get back to the gear assemblies of swapping out the synchro rings. And what still has me is every transmission I have ever taken apart and replaced synchros on. Not saying I've done it for a long time, but I'm just saying that, hey, I have never come across synchro rings that are this. Seen brass. Usually they're always brass. Not sure what these are made out of, but these are gears 3, 4, and 5. And what's funny is what I figured out is that with the 4-speed M17, you only have 2 style synchro rings, and it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Both those synchro rings are the same. So on the 5-speed, guess what? Again, you only have 2 style synchro rings. First and second, 3, 4, and 5. They're all the same design. So pretty knowledgeable out there if anyone's following and was like, oh, wait a minute, what? I broke a 4th gear synchro in an M17. What should I do? Well, if you can find another M17 with a good 3rd gear, grab that synchro and swap it into 4th gear. You should be good. So, yeah. And another thing, I ran into a guy that says that he might be able to machine M17 synchros for me. So, we'll see. I haven't heard anything back. It's been a couple weeks, but I'm going to give this guy some time, and if he says he can do it, awesome. We can get an M17 rebuild one and see how it goes. The M17 in this car has been awesome to us. It's been very awesome. Not one grind or any of that. This transmission's just been very good in this car. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to get everything all done, and I'll follow up with a 4th part video of taking the gear assemblies apart and doing synchros, and then also taking the gear assemblies apart. Well, not gear assemblies, but taking the diff bearings off the diff and get that all set up, and hopefully this is very educational on who wants to take apart a 5-speed and put it together. Just to give you a heads up, you are going to need these crazy tools over here. So that right there is a jig, and then that right there is the input. It's the input thing for the collar piece. It's crazy. You need these stupid 3 tools right here in order to get the case back together, or even take the case apart. So, let you know. I'm gonna end it here. I'm going to get that all done, and like I said, hopefully whoever wants to take part of 5-speed, I hope that I gave you some confidence, because that's really all these videos are about.